My favorite thing to do as a young child was to read books with my parents. My mom told me that I had all of my favorites memorized, so I would call her out as she ever tried to skip pages in an attempt to put me to bed faster. One family video shows my mom reading Dr. Seuss to me when I was 2, and another shows me reading the small words within the alphabet on my alphabet puzzle, like hi and no. When I got older, my mom would take my brother and I to the library where we would check out piles of books to read over the course of that week. While my mom often had to force my brother to sit still long enough for her to force read him a book, I was enthralled. Nightly, we would take turns reading aloud from the scriptures and then choose a few library books to read. Every summer, the Taylor Ranch Public Library would have a summer reading challenge. For every 15 minutes read, we could fill in a section, and after each hour, we could earn a prize. Each booklet had enough room for 20 hours or so of reading time, and once that was filled, each child could receive a larger prize. I made it my personal mission to fill out as many of these booklets as possible. I spent hours reading, and I couldn't stay in a book long enough for my mom to find me a new one to enjoy. I read every night before my parents yelled at me to turn off my light, and then I would take out my secret flashlight. I read in the bathtub and at all of my brother's baseball games, often using my jacket to shield me from the terrible wind that plagued Albuquerque each spring. I was that kid who was never without a book. Every summer, I can remember when the new Harry Potter book would come out. That was my favorite time, and as soon as my pre-ordered copy came in the mail, I would lock myself in my room and read it in 3 days flat. I plowed through series after series and reveled in the shock and praise that inevitably came when I handed the library 3 books at a time to get my prizes. In 8th grade, my English teacher took us to the library to take a reading comprehension test. The scores of that test would determine what books we were allowed to check out from the library, and in order to prevent students from slacking off, we were not allowed to check out a book beneath our tested reading level. I tested into a 12th grade reading level, and as a result, I could only check out books that were deemed appropriate for someone reading at such a high level. These black dot books included titles like Moby Dick, Wuthering Heights, The Scarlet Letter, and many other classic literature adult novels. As can be assumed, as a 13-year-old, I was not mature enough to enjoy, comprehend, or enjoy these books. I can remember throwing Wuthering Heights across the room because it took 3 pages for him to describe the snow, and don't even talk to me about The Scarlet Letter. I still refuse to read that book. My love of reading has been stifled by a required reading, and I was ill-equipped to handle. And the next time we took a reading test, I took my mom's advice and purposely bombed it. Once high school rolled around, I had slowed down in my reading. School was more demanding, and my honors and AP classes took up more of my time. My 11th grade AP English class was my absolute favorite, and my teacher, Mrs. Wells, was my idol. We would have long class discussions about literature and arguments, and I discovered my love for English in her class. But it required a ton of reading. We had to read 1 book a month in addition to each of the nightly required readings, and it was easily one of the hardest classes I've ever taken. But it was the most rewarding. I got a 5 on that AP exam, and I came away that year for the desire to be a teacher. Now, as a college student, life is much busier than it was as a child. Instead of reading for hours on end, my days are filled with school, work, cooking, cleaning, other adult responsibilities. Long articles on educational philosophies and learning styles fill my reading quotas each semester, so it is rare that I can find time to enjoy a book just for me. But when I do find the time to lose myself in a book, it is a sweet vacation that I never want to leave.